Hi guys, I welcome you all to the next lecture in our anthropology series. So today we are going to start with a very important topic and you can say a whole new sub discipline of anthropology, and that is biological anthropology, right? So in this, the first chapter is human genetics, right? Methods and application. For many people who haven't studied biology, so I would want to start it from the very basic, and I will take you very slowly in these chapters because there are a lot of technical terms that you need to understand, and so for that we are going to start with basic parts, right? So the word is human genetics. Now why do we need to study all of this, right? हम तो humans के बारे में पढ़ रहे थे, right? If I take you to the from the very beginning of the syllabus, we have covered about human evolution, right? In evolution we have talked about the biological evolution also, and we have talked about the socio-cultural evolution also, how the societies and cultures have evolved, how the man has evolved from the various you can say parts of the animal kingdom. So this much we have done. So now why do we need to study the human genetics? We need to study the human genetics because it is also something which is going to tell us a lot about humans, right? Because anthropology is a holistic study of man in terms of time and space. That means पास्ट में भी अगर हम उसको पढ़ रहे हैं, ठीक है, अगर हम प्रेजेंट में पढ़ रहे हैं एंड वी आर रीडिंग अबाउट द फ्यूचर ऑफ ह्यूमंस ऑल्सो, ठीक है, evolution in the future is going to happen because of the genetic changes. That means genetic changes are very important. Even in Darwin's theories, right? Darwin का theory था, the theory of inheritance में हमने जो पढ़ा, we had starting में we had studied a little bit here and there. उसमें genes का एक बहुत important role we had studied. Now in this part, the human genetics, we are going to study what are the things that are going to affect man in the sense of diseases. Human को कौन से diseases affect कर सकते हैं, right? Then inheritance pattern, how the traits get transferred to the next generation. For example, if my mother has black hair, my father has black hair, even I have black hair. That means there is certain inheritance that is happening. If कहते हैं ना कभी कभी if somebody has a tall parent तो बोलते कि उन पे गया, that is why they are tall, right? So there are characters that we have and they are inherited, and they are inherited through genes, and the inheritance pattern can tell us a lot about the kind of diseases that one can have, ठीक है, the future of humans, right? जैसे कि when we say that 2 to 3% of human DNA even till today, especially for the European population, are of Neanderthals, right? So these are all the kind of you can say the discoveries that are happening because we are studying the genetics also. So genetics in turn will take us to the past, it can take us to the future, it can predict what is going to happen with the man as we are studying humans only, right? So Neanderthal का gene है हमारे अंदर, then Denisovans का gene there are present. So what is this? This is all that we are able to know conclusively through studying genetics. That is why genetics is very important if we have to study the evolution of man, if we have to study man in totality in terms of time and space. So I hope you have understood why do we need to study the human genetics. So now basically human genetics, or the study of genes, started because there was a person called the Gregor Mendel. Okay, this person was the first person who started a study on inheritance, how the genes get inherited from one generation to the next. So it is the study of inherited variation as it occurs in the human beings. That means there are inherited and variation. दो words हैं, inheritance and variation, right? So obviously genes transfer होते हैं, but then there is variation also जो होती रहती है. Variation में क्या आ जाएगा? Mutation आ जाएगा, recombination आ जाएगा. So what is these things? These things are the things that are going to bring the variation in the genes. So if anybody who has not been able to understand these terms, I have covered it in the Darwin ka theory, the synthetic theory of evolution, so you can go back and watch those videos. I think that is 1.3, right? If I'm not mistaken, it is 1.3. You can go back and watch those videos. So basically इसमें क्या होता है, we are going to study the chromosomes, ठीक है, and we are going to see how heredity works, ठीक है. Heredity मतलब that means how from one generation to the others the genes get passed on, right? Genes को you can say it is a common factor of most inherited traits. That means if there is anything that is passed on from your parents to you and from you to your children, it is through the genes. So genes is that basic unit, okay, from in which the information is coded, ठीक है, and through these it is going to get passed on to the next generation. Now because I had not covered the cell wala chapter, in which there are different basic terms that were to be covered, I will just cover it here. See, I'll just tell you there are 23 pairs of chromosome, right? There are 23 pairs of chromosomes, in which 22 pair are autosomal and one pair is sex chromosome, ठीक है. That means this one pair is the one that is going to get passed on to the next generation. These 22 autosomal pairs are not transferred, ठीक है. This one pair is going to be transferred. For example, this is parent A and this is parent B, and the chromosomes are they occur in pairs. For example, if there are 23 pairs of chromosome, that means total कितने होंगे, 46 chromosomes होंगे, because एक pair में there are 2 chromosomes, ठीक है. And if you have to draw a chromosome, you can draw it like this. So this can be a pair of chromosome, ठीक है. ये एक मैंने chromosome draw कर दिया, ठीक है. Now when the chromosomes get transferred to the from parent to the children, for example, it has to be transferred to the child. अभी क्या होगा, parent के पास जैसे he is the father, okay, A is the father, so he is XX, I'll just draw X, sorry, he is XY and mother is XX, so mother is XX and father is XY, okay. So now what will happen, and let us assume that this C child is a boy child, ठीक है. ये father है XY और ये mother है XX और बेटा boy है, ठीक है. So he will get Y from his father and X from his mother, because a boy will always have XY chromosome and a girl will always have a XX chromosome, ठीक है. That means देखो, if you have to determine the sex of a child or the gender of a child, you will see from the 23rd pair, that is the sex chromosome pair. उससे you can just know whether it is a girl or a boy, ठीक है. And वो कैसे पता चलता है, from the pair of the 23rd chromosome. For example, अगर दोनों पेयर में XX है, that means वो एक girl child होगी. And if there is one X chromosome and one Y chromosome, that means वो एक boy child होगा. And now because mother only has XX, so any child, whether boy or a girl, is going to inherit X trait only from the mother, ठीक है, because the mother has 2X. So either this X goes or this X goes, but it has to be an X only. So you understand, because she doesn't have any Y, right? So the child will only get the X trait, ठीक है. But from the father, the child can either take X and either take Y. So if it takes X, it becomes a girl child, because दोनों एक X यहाँ से आ गया, एक X यहाँ से आ गया, ठीक है. But if it takes Y from the father and X from the mother, then it becomes a boy child, right? So I hope I've made my point clear. तो फिर वो बेटा कुछ ऐसा बन जाएगा XY, ठीक है, ये हो गया बेटा. So now you understand, and genes are encoded in this one set of pair. That means जो भी genes that are transferred from parents to its children are encoded in this pair of chromosome, and this pair of chromosome, if you have to go deep into this, has DNA, ठीक है, and this DNA is there in the genes. So आप बोल सकते हैं chromosomes has genes, lot of genes it has, and has DNA which has all the coded information. That means whatever information has to travel from parents to the children, it transfers through these chromosome which has the DNA and the genes, right? So for example इसमें है कि हेयर का कलर क्या होगा, आई का कलर क्या होगा, ठीक है, देन फैट डिपोजिशन बॉडी में कितना होगा, ठीक है, देन यू कैन से जेंडर क्या होगा. सो एवरीथिंग इज एनकोडेड in this one pair, okay, and it has millions of genes it has. So much information is condensed into just one pair of chromosome. So you can see body is such an intricate thing, right? So now I've told you what are genes. Genes are present in our chromosomes. It is a basic unit where all the information is encoded, and it helps to understand a lot about the inheritance patterns. All of this we have understood. So now the science of genetics, or the study on genetics, started with the famous work of Father Gregor Mendel, okay, and he worked on the common garden pea. Pea मटर होता है ना, जो हम खाते हैं, मटर, that is the pea plant, and he worked on that pea plant, and he published his results in 1866. Now when he published his results, it was, you can say, the so called dark phase of or when he was doing his study in 1822 to 1884, it was the dark age of science. That means people were controlled more by religion than by science, okay. People were not, they did not have the scientific temperament, so they did not understand, and they did not give the due importance to his work. So he had, in his work, he had then proposed certain principles that we are going to study in Mendel's law of inheritance, okay. वो इसके आगे आएगा, do not worry about that. I am just telling you now कि human genetics की history कहाँ से है. So you understand that first. So he had proposed certain laws on inheritance. However, in his lifetime, nobody realized the importance of his path-breaking research, okay. So उसके बाद in 1901, Hugo de Vries, Carl Correns and many others realized कि Mendel के observations were so important and they were really path-breaking, because from there the study, a whole new sub-discipline was started, and that is why he is called the father of genetics or human genetics, because उन्होंने genetics पे बहुत ज़्यादा काम किया. And then if you remember, Hugo de Vries and all of these gave the synthetic theory of evolution, right, जिसमें there was the works of many many people including Mendel. So synthetic theory of evolution we have already covered. You can please go back and watch that. So अभी human genetics का history you must have understood कि Gregor Mendel started it with his Mendel's law on inheritance उन्होंने लिखे थे, but nobody gave him any importance. Later Hugo de Vries वगैरह ने जब study किया, they found out that really it was a path breaking work, and they started to note that actually में जो chromosomes होते हैं, they behave like Mendel's traits, okay. So Mendel ने कुछ laws दिए थे जिनको आप बोल सकते हैं Mendelian laws, okay, Mendelian law on inheritance. And these people, when later on studied, they saw that actually chromosomes behave like this, the way he had described them to, okay. So researchers then confirmed the Mendel hypothesis and his ideas on inheritance of traits. So from here the new subdiscipline of human genetics emerged. So now in this, basically in this chapter we had to cover pedigree analysis. Okay, but pedigree analysis जो है ना, it will come from Mendel's law only. ठीक है, मेंडल का जो वर्क था ऑन ह्यूमन ऑन जेनेटिक्स, नॉट ह्यूमन जेनेटिक्स, ओनली ऑन जेनेटिक्स, जो उन्होंने काम किया था, उधर से ही पेडिग्री एनालिसिस का द होल पेडिग्री एनालिसिस काइंड ऑफ थिंग केम आउट. ठीक है, सो टू स्टडी पेडिग्री एनालिसिस वी शुड नो द मेंडल्स लॉ. सो एंड मेंडल्स लॉ इज गिवन इन 9.2. सो व्हाट आई एम गोइंग टू डू इज ना, in this chapter only, because we are doing 9.1, but I am going to cover Mendel's law here only, because then you will understand pedigree analysis also nicely, and we will finish this whole Mendel ka idea here itself. ठीक है, so if you have to understand what is a pedigree analysis, basically it's a diagrammatic way or a diagrammatic representation on the principles of inheritance. ठीक है, so अगर पेडिग्री एनालिसिस आपसे कोई पूछे क्या होता है, इट्स अ चार्ट. ठीक है, इट्स अ चार्ट, इट्स अ डायग्रामेटिक रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑन प्रिंसिपल ऑफ इनहेरिटेंस. एंड विच प्रिंसिपल ऑफ इनहेरिटेंस, विच वर गिवन बाय ग्रेगर मेंडल. एंड उसके बाद देन इस पर बहुत लोगों ने काम किया था. ठीक है, सो जो इन्होंने दिया था उसके ऊपर, इन्होंने जो लॉ ऑफ इनहेरिटेंस दिए थे उसके ऊपर साइंटिस्ट ने डेवलप किया एक अप्रोच. ठीक है, टू हेल्प अंडरस्टैंड द इनहेरिटेंस ऑफ जीन्स. तो जब हम उसको एक डायग्रामेटिक वे से बनाते हैं, दैट बिकम्स अ पेडिग्री चार्ट. ठीक है, एंड इट कैन हेल्प अस टू प्रिडिक्ट द जेनेटिक डिजीजेस एंड मेनी अदर थिंग्स. ठीक है, फॉर एग्जांपल मैंने आपको अभी जो पिछले पेज पर करके दिखाया था, दैट हाउ अ sex of a child can be determined. Similarly, I'll give you just another example if you want me to. For example, this is the this is the father. Okay, let me just show you only in the picture first. Wait, this is, you can say, the so called diagrammatic presentation. ठीक है, इसमें होता क्या है, basically you try and picture के through you are telling something. For example, for a female you will draw a circle. ठीक है, and if you write something in the circle, it becomes like, if you have written 3, so it becomes 3 normal girls. Okay, so normal male square हो जाएगा, affected male female circle colored हो जाएगी, affected male ऐसा हो जाएगा. So now what is affected? Pedigree chart जो होता है ना, या pedigree analysis जो होता है ना, वो बेसिकली हम यूज़ करते हैं टू शो द जेनेटिक डिसऑर्डर्स. ठीक है, जेनेटिक डिजीजेस एंड जेनेटिक डिसऑर्डर्स को दिखाने के लिए हम इसको यूज़ करते हैं. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, आई विल जस्ट टेल यू, हम कह लेते हैं कि दिस इज द पेरेंट ए. ठीक है, एंड दिस इज द पेरेंट बी जो फीमेल है. ठीक है, एंड दिस फीमेल हैज सर्टेन जेनेटिक डिसऑर्डर. ठीक है, एंड इसको ये जेनेटिक डिसऑर्डर है, हम कह लेते हैं कि दिस इज अ एक्स लिंक्ड डिजीज. इनको जो प्रॉब्लम है वो एक एक्स लिंक्ड डिजीज है. ठीक है, कोई एक ऐसा जेनेटिक डिसऑर्डर है जो एक्स क्रोमोसोम की वजह से इट गेट्स ट्रांसफर्ड टू द नेक्स्ट जनरेशन. ठीक है, बिकॉज द फीमेल इज एन एक्स एक्स, यू अंडरस्टैंड ना, फीमेल जो है वो एक्स एक्स है एंड मेल है एक्स वाई. सो एंड ये एक्स लिंक डिजीज है. दैट मीन्स बिकॉज एक एक्स तो, वेदर इट हैज टू बी अ बॉय चाइल्ड और अ गर्ल चाइल्ड, एक एक्स तो उसमें आएगा ही आएगा, राइट. सो दैट मीन्स वेदर इट इज अ बॉय और अ गर्ल, they are going to have a disease, they are going to have that disease, right, because it is a X linked disease and X link एक X तो mother से मिलेगा ही मिलेगा. Now let me change the example for you to understand what we are actually doing. पेडिग्री चार्ट से हम क्या करते हैं, राइट. एक एग्जाम्पल ये हो गया. दूसरा एग्जाम्पल, सेम एग्जाम्पल ले लेते हैं हम. इट इज़ अ एक्स लिंक डिजीज, बट वो मदर को नहीं है, वो फादर को है. नाउ फादर हैज़ दैट डिजीज एंड मदर डज नॉट हैज़ द डिजीज. सो मदर नॉर्मल है, फादर अफेक्टेड है. ठीक है, नाउ इफ दे हैव अ चाइल्ड, ठीक है, एंड चाइल्ड क्या हो सकता है, अगेन इट कैन बी अ गर्ल, तो वो एक्स एक्स होगी, एंड इट कैन बी अ बॉय, वो एक्स एक्स वाई होगा. एंड आई हैव ऑलरेडी टोल्ड यू, इट इफ इट हैज टू बी अ बॉय, boy only takes the X from the mother and Y from the father. And if it is a X-linked disease, if it is a X-linked disease, that means the father's X is, X has the problem, X-linked disease है, father को है, that means उसने अपनी mother से लिया होगा और उसको वो disease हो गया, right? But if it is a boy, जो इन दोनों का अगर if they both mate and if they have a boy, तो उसको तो y देना ही नहीं अपने बेटे को, it only has to give the y to the child, right? क्योंकि x तो उसको मदर से मिलेगा, right? That means if they have a son, it is going to be a not affected son, but if they have a daughter, it is going to be a affected daughter. Why? Because जो बेटी है उसको तो एक्स एक्स चाहिए, दैट मीन्स इन एनी केस उसको फादर से भी एक एक्स मिलेगा और मदर से भी एक एक्स मिलेगा. So now you understand how pedigree chart can help us to, but if, beforehand, even before the mating, we can be very sure ki whether the child is going to have the disease or not. So it can help us to limit genetic disorders. If we have the genetic this pedigree chart, if we draw these pedigree charts, especially in the families which have genetic disorders, ठीक है. So I hope I made my point clear. अभी आगे आगे जाकर यू विल बी वेरी क्लियर अबाउट वॉट वी आर स्टडिंग. सो नाउ हमने बात करी पेडिग्री चार्ट क्या होता है. पेडिग्री चार्ट इज अ डायग्राम, इट्स अ पिक्टोरल डिस्क्रिप्शन, ठीक है. वाई डू वी यूज इट? वी यूज इट फॉर शोइंग इनहेरिटेंस पैटर्न्स, how the diseases are spread from generation after generation, from parents to children. What is the possibility that the next generation is going to have a disease? We can all show it through the pedigree charts. And then there are certain rules, and the rules are कि कैसे किसको डिपिक्ट करना है, ठीक है. जैसे कि ट्विन्स बनाने हैं तो ऐसे बनाने हैं, ठीक है. फ्रेटर्नल ट्विन्स ऐसे बनाने. नाउ व्हाट इज आइडेंटिकल ट्विन्स, फ्रेटर्नल ट्विन्स? वी आर गोइंग टू delve deep into the each topic, each word I'm going to teach you, so do not worry about that. अभी जितना बोल रही हूँ, you just have to understand that much, right? So I hope you have understood this thing, ठीक है. So now pedigree analysis, it is a chart that can represent a family tree along with the family members that have their genetic trait. और इससे हम बहुत हद तक, you know, we can limit the diseases running in a family by letting them you know, not mate, or by telling them that if they mate they have this kind of genetic disorder in their child, and what is the possibility. जैसे मैंने आपको बताया, अगर एक फादर को एक एक्स लिंक्ड डिजीज है तो वो उसकी गर्ल चाइल्ड में तो पक्का जाएगा, बट अगर बॉय चाइल्ड होगा तो उसमें कभी नहीं जाएगा. So these all possibilities, these are permutation combinations we can just know by drawing this pedigree chart. So much important it is, है ना. जेनेटिक डिसऑर्डर्स, इनहेरिटेंस पैटर्न्स को स्टडी करने के लिए पेडिग्री चार्ट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो व्हेन ग्रेगर मेंडल talked about genetics ना and inheritance patterns, he did not call it genes because उसको लग रहा था कि कुछ ऐसा तो होता है जो parent to child जाता है, but he was not knowing what is that thing, so he called it just as a factor because उसको पता नहीं था कि what are genes, he did not know what are genes, so he was just calling it a factor कि there is certain factor which is traveling from the parent to the child and which is causing all these things, ठीक है. So he did not know the genes, today we call it genes, which were responsible for the inheritance of traits, but now we know it and we can use it in the pedigree charts itself, pedigree analysis itself. So genes क्या होता है? hereditary unit of organism होते हैं which are responsible for carrying out the information from the parents to their offspring. हमने बात कर लिया. These genes are responsible for the characteristics of a living organism and are reason for some disorders present in them, ठीक है ना. सो जितने भी जेनेटिक डिसऑर्डर्स है, जेनेटिक से मतलब ही ये है कि ये पेरेंट टू चाइल्ड जाते हैं, दैट इज व्हाई दे आर कॉल्ड जेनेटिक्स, जेनेटिक डिजीजेस, बिकॉज दे आर ट्रैवलिंग फ्रॉम पेरेंट टू चिल्ड्रन. अगर वो जेनेटिक नहीं होते तो फिर वो ऑटोजोमल होते या कोई और रीजन से होते. जेनेटिक इसलिए बिकॉज वो पेरेंट टू चिल्ड्रन ट्रांसफर हो रहे हैं. सो इसको हम पेडिग्री से कर सकते हैं. अब वी कांट लेट पीपल डाई even knowing ki they can have these diseases. So that is why pedigree analysis becomes important for the health of humans at large. ठीक है ना. We can't let the people if they have certain disorders, they need to know that if they have children they will have these problems, and then it is their call what to do about it, right? So iske liye pedigree analysis is very important. सो मेंडेलियन डिसऑर्डर्स, इनको मेंडेलियन डिसऑर्डर्स भी बोलते हैं बिकॉज दे फॉलो द मेंडल्स लॉज ऑफ इनहेरिटेंस. नाउ यू मस्ट बी थिंकिंग हम बार बार बात करें वर्ड मेंडल लॉ इनहेरिटेंस उससे होती है, वो है क्या है, राइट? So you must be thinking about that, but that I'll cover tomorrow. Today we'll just understand this much because I know people who do not have bio as their background, उनके लिए थोड़ा tough होने वाला है. So you just understand what I've told you tomorrow. That is why I'm covering Mendel's law of inheritance only first, because वो even though it's in the next chapter, but I'll do it here so that ये पूरा टॉपिक इधर ही क्लियर हो जाए, एंड देन अगेन मैं आपको थोड़ा सा पेडिग्री चार्ट दिखा दूंगी. राइट नाउ गाइज आई वॉन्टेड टू टॉक टू यू अबाउट दिस, दैट आई एम गेटिंग अ वेरी वेरी humble response from you guys, which is very sad because I am putting so much effort for you to for all of you, because मैं ऐसा content लाने की कोशिश कर रही हूँ जो even at the coaching institutes it is not available, right? I am putting in so much effort. I am constantly interacting with you either on my Telegram channel, on the comment section, because anybody who's asking me anything, I am replying them एवरी टाइम, बिकॉज मैं चाहती हूँ कि हम इसको इंटरैक्टिव बनाएं, कम्युनिकेटिव बनाएं, एंड फर्दर मैं इसको एक्सपैंड करने का सोच रही हूँ, नॉट ओनली टू only the optional subject but also to GS. But if you give me such humble response, then I'll be so much demotivated, because मेरे लिए it is just your likes, your shares, your responses, your comments that is going to tell me and give me the validation कि yes, whatever I'm doing is something which you like, which you are appreciating. Otherwise मेरे लिए there is no motivation to do it, right? If I am taking out my time and doing it for you, it is your responsibility also that you talk to me, you communicate with me, you like the videos, because don't go without liking the videos. Otherwise how will I understand whether you like the videos or not? ठीक है guys, so please if you do not like, then I am not going to start the next initiative that I have in my mind. Whatever you're telling me, whether it's a mains answer writing session, whether it's something communication series, I'm bringing it all for you. But अगर आप नहीं support करेंगे, then it will become very difficult for me to do it, right? So इसके बाद I will hope कि आप लोगों का response मुझे अच्छा मिले. Thank you so much guys. Please like, share and subscribe.